Good morning, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Manufacturing Matters, where we talk about the technology and trends that are reshaping the manufacturing industry. My name is Winn Hardin. I'll be your co-host today. I'm also Managing Director of Tech B2B Marketing, and I'm lucky enough to be today here with Robert Franz, CEO of Allied Vision. Robert, how are you doing today?
I'm great, thank you. Thank you, Win. How are you doing?
I'm doing really good, and I'm glad we were able to find some time to get together on this. I know we first had some discussions in January, I believe, at the A3 Business Forum. So there's a lot of exciting things going on around Allied Vision, and we're going to dig in those today. But before we kick off, Robert, would you mind giving us a quick overview about Allied Vision for the folks in the audience who don't know your company?
Yeah, Allied Vision is one of the leading companies in machine vision worldwide, and it's actually a conglomerate of multiple organizations. We would probably get into that a bit more and in more detail. And it belongs to what is called TKH Group, which is a holding structure that's based in Europe. And that company has been buying companies in the machine vision space. So it's kind of a buy and build approach, but we don't have the intent to sell these companies at some point. So that's how we are building a leading or maybe the leading company in the vision space.
It's been super exciting to see our industry in the automation technology market mature. So that now I think we're starting to see vertical stack integration. We're seeing a lot of interesting merger and acquisition activity. To that point, now, I believe I saw an announcement earlier this year that TKH Brands is now under Allied Vision. Is that correct?
Yeah, so to be really precise, it's it's several brands that are consolidated under the Allied Vision brand. It's not all of what is called TKH Vision, because there's also a company called LMI that does 3D technology, and in my group we only do two-dimensional technologies. Yeah, so that's kind of a difference. But the companies that we are combining under Allied Vision, and we announced it, as you say, January 15th, are the old, so to say, Allied Vision, which is the largest company in the group, and then ChromaSense, SWS Vistec, NET, and then also over time Eurosys. So we bring those companies together, and the main driving motive for that is really making it easier for our customers. Yeah, so to have everything coming from one brand, from one organization moving forward. That is a key theme for us, and I believe that is also to the point that you were mentioning, kind of a consolidation in that industry, where we are really putting the customer first in an industry that I think is very technology driven still, which makes a lot of sense. But you also need to solve your customers' problems and not only do technology for the sake of technology.
Right on. And now you're mentioning Allied Vision, two-dimensional area array type camera technology, LMI, excuse me, which I know from the GoCater days, and one of the best-in-class 3D scanning and 3D imaging applications. Eurosys for custom camera development, I believe, and also frame grabbers. Is that correct?
Yeah, frame grabbers is where we have acquired Eurosys in 2023, and Eurosys is maybe the leading company in frame grabbers for sure in the top three.
Right.
And that's a nice complement to our portfolio. This is a key aspect. So if the customer comes to us, we can offer not only the camera but also lighting, lenses, frame grabbers. So you name it. Fantastic. And we are serving many different segments and many different industries. So this is for where we want to go. This is has been a very nice addition.
Okay. And then let's not forget Visitech, of course. What does this mean to the customers? Like, it sounds like now you have the freedom to do a full consultative when it comes to the imaging, subsystem of any particular automation solution. Does that kind of free you up? Can you talk a little bit about what the customers can expect under this new unification?
Yeah, so what we are certainly trying to do is to move upwards also from products to solutions. We will not stop doing products and components. So this is always an important aspect, because I do want to build a business where the customer can make a decision on which level of the value chain they want to buy. Do they want to buy just a frame grabber? Right. Okay, that's fine, but we can also do more for you, Mr. Customer, and then we can go through the other things. We have chosen certain segments of focus for us to move further into the solution space. But we are conscious that in some cases we would start to compete with our own customers. That's nothing that we want to do. So we are a bit deliberate in terms of where exactly do we do this. But eventually, this is what customers want: is they want solutions and not pieces of a puzzle that they need to figure out themselves.
Yeah, another characteristic of a maturing technology industry. It's so nice to machine vision has really gone mainstream. And I'd say that from a gentleman who's been in the industry for 30 years.
Yeah.
So, when you get older, you appreciate the little things, it's nice to see your kid grow up, essentially. So I do want to ask one last question related to, we talked about solution sets. Are these primary in the traditional industrial automation, machine vision, computer vision, imaging areas, or do we also do embedded systems?
Embedded actually not so much at this point. No, where we are more diversifying is around 50% of the business. Depends a bit on which operating company you look at. But if I look at the consolidated group, then around 50% of the business is really factory automation, where the industry comes from, essentially. The other half of the business is other segments. Yeah, so you have medtech in there, you have transportation applications in there, you have, I mentioned medical already, but also biotech, yeah, so some very advanced stuff. And also to mention the defense sector, which has been very strong for us for the last 2 years, for reasons that nobody likes and appreciates, but it's a necessity. And this is something where we have probably developed a leading position by now. Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, the defense and aerospace has certainly been. Well, I don't know that any of us 3 years ago anticipated it being the uptick that it has, but it's certainly it's got plenty of legs, unfortunately, due to global events going on right now.
Yeah, yeah.
So let's switch to something more positive. When you look at the machine vision industry, what are you excited about on the automation space? And I'm thinking, about shortwave infrared, about the application of artificial intelligence, deep learning, time of flight. What is it that you're excited about, Robert?
Well, so I think there are many things that I'm excited about. First and foremost, what I always describe as the shovel strategy, and then some people know this. It basically comes from the California gold rush many years ago. Yeah, and where essentially the people that sold shovels to the gold diggers made more money than the gold diggers themselves. Yeah, and this is all what you see with NVIDIA these days as well. Yeah, and so this is what I'm first of all excited about. Is I think we as the vision industry are a key enabler for artificial intelligence in many applications. And this is also when I look at our order intake, compare that with an average industrial type company. We are performing really well and very strongly at this point. Yeah, and I think that's the key aspect that's driving that. Yeah, so that's point number one for me is really I think we have a very strong future ahead of us. And, so we have to play it well, but I think there's a lot of potential still. Yeah, unlike in other areas where AI is more like a disruptor that may destroy your business model. Right. I think for vision is the opposite.
I couldn't agree more. We were doing a panel again in January at the A3 Business Forum. We were looking at AI, and we were talking about, and that's actually on the robotics panel was a big part of discussion too, about how right now everyone's focused on large language models, LLM below. But when this gets paired with the very large image models and with the oral models, I mean, there's going to be a completely new way of interacting with machines. And sight is going to be a key component on that. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, Robert.
Yeah, I think I mean, my general thought on this is I have the impression that the development of AI will go even faster than we anticipated like a year ago or so. Yeah, and the discussion is always, okay, how fast will it go? What will be the impact? But just over the weekend, I saw the Perplexity computer application. Maybe by chance you are familiar with that. But this is really game-changing stuff that's happening every couple of weeks. Yeah, so I think it's really impressive what's going to happen there. Yeah, so that's.
I agree, and you're tackling the market from the end user perspective. It's not from the data centers. You're not making money purely on the GPU deployments and the data center development, right? Which there are concerns about how long each of those iterations are going to last. Is that investment sustainable? But what we do know is the demand for AI is not going to go down. It's only going to go up. And so when you're selling markets, again, shovels to the gold miners,
exactly,
instead of the gold mine itself. That has a long, I think, path ahead.
Yeah, exactly. And vision is active in all these areas if you think about it. Yeah, so we even have applications within data centers. Yeah, to monitor certain. Yeah, it's sometimes quite secretive stuff actually, but it's really interesting. You can be on different levels of the chain and benefit from all of them. And this is why, coming back to the first point, we also said, okay, you should really consolidate our offerings under one brand to make it easier for our customers to understand what's the full portfolio, what can we do for you. And I think with that, we we made a big step forward. Yeah.
Hey everybody, I just want to take a quick second and thank our sponsor. Manufacturing Matters is sponsored by Tech B2B Marketing. They're a full-service public relations and marketing agency that focuses on technology companies, especially in the energy and automation markets. They provide full service, media relations, investor relations, employee relations, full end-to-end content development, videos, services, animation, full IT stack development from website integrating with ERP systems, CRM, marketing automation systems, and they bring a whole lot of knowledge and experience about technical markets since they've been servicing those markets for over 30 years. So if you have any questions, you want to learn more, go to techb2b.com, and now let's get back to the show. So it's interesting, you just mentioned a new application in data centers. Now I'm not sure if that's about, asset management or if that's workforce management or whatever the case is there, but can you give us a couple examples of the way machine vision is adding more capability, more flexibility to automation solutions than traditional? I mean, we thought in the past it was inspecting products. It was then maybe adding some eyeballs to a robot for guidance and better efficient in operations and picking accuracy, repeatability. But what are some of the new ways the machine vision is helping to make the new automation systems?
Yeah. So we see a lot. I'm just thinking. So within that other 50% of the business, yeah. So what's not factory automation?
Right.
We see a lot in agriculture, for example. Yeah. So you may have seen that it becomes very precise the way that you apply fertilizer and things like that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That is an exciting area for sure. And I think generally speaking, as everybody knows, in those areas where manual labor is hard to get these days, and to automate there makes a lot of sense. Agriculture is one of the big areas. In traffic management, we see many new applications coming. Interestingly, it depends always a bit which customer and country are you dealing with. Yeah, so the more Western countries, they tend to be a bit more hesitant in terms of monitoring traffic and are people wearing their seatbelt and that type of stuff. Yeah, but there's a lot of demand coming for sure in that area. Healthcare is always really exciting. Yeah, when you look into a very deep cell analytics and things like that, we have some customers that do that. Yeah, and what is also interesting in that area is that you would think that the camera business, let's say, that traditionally has evolved around higher resolutions, higher speeds, different interfaces, blah blah blah. Yeah,
Right.
That is still a very integral part of what we're doing. So beside all the solution stuff and looking at software and how do we bring all of that together,
Mm-hmm.
or continuously develop new cameras with higher resolutions, with smaller housing, smaller footprint, a smaller energy consumption. That is still a key differentiator that enables some of the applications. Yeah, and I think that's important to be understood. One good example for us is actually the SWIR shortwave infrared technology, where we are, I believe, #1 globally, and that is enabling applications that you wouldn't believe. For example, in the wafer production, you
Mm-hmm.
can see through different layers of the wafer with that technology, and then you have also defense applications for SWIR that are very advanced that I cannot really talk about. Yeah, but it's if we take good care that we are on the right side of the fence in these applications, of course. Yeah,
Right.
but so technology is also moving ahead still. Yeah, this is not stopping on the level of it's all about AI.
Right, and I love how you were dealing with it. Well, the first through point of those application areas you were speaking about outside of the laboratory were all outside of plants. They were outside controlled environments. Which makes me think about the improved quantum efficiency of the cameras, which are allowing them to work in, much wider illumination ranges, which is enabling all that. And of course, maybe a key component to robotics, mobile robotics going forward and things of that nature is, and then you mentioned that it's not just AI is driving it, right? So, and we talked about form factors and everything else, but is AI helping to move your cameras beyond the plant floor into some of those ag tech, which is a market I've been, very, very excited about for a number of years.
Yeah, I mean, one very concrete example is that last week we launched a smart camera that is actually moving AI to the edge. So you have the intelligence in the camera, and that's a very nice addition to our portfolio. And we developed that, by the way, together with our sister company LMI. Yeah, so this is also making the best of the strengths of TKH Group. I think that the key point around AI is really you have to bring it down to the specific application. I think to discuss it on the level of large language models, for the user, that's usually pointless unless how you use AI is kind of, okay, I ask ChatGPT a question, then I get a smart answer.
Right.
If we are talking about industrial type of applications, you really have to go to the application level and understand, okay, what's the value of AI here really? What am I doing with this? Yeah. And I think that's the key point where we are further building up knowledge and to really serve our customers well in that specific application, and not just the buzzword of AI, but what does it mean? How does it help you? And what I've learned early in my career is at the end, it's in B2B, it's all about, can I measure it in dollars or euros or whatever currency you prefer? So I have to be able to spell out a return on invest. How does that lower the operating cost? That's a key aspect for me always.
Yeah, there's no question. There's no point in investing in technology if it's not going to give you an ROI, improve overall efficiency, add capacity, whatever's key to that particular customer segment. You just mentioned the new camera that you co-developed with LMI. Is that the open smart camera that I've heard about?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so in the LI Vision Cosmos, it's called the LX. Yeah, and this is exactly the camera. Yeah.
So define what makes it open.
You can use your own software. So whereas in the past, you had some of our competitors, they basically give you a black box and there's a camera and there's software in it.
Right.
Our camera, you can train the camera in the way you want. We also have software offerings. So if you want to buy our software, and this is where you mentioned GoCater, where this type of software comes in very nicely, of course, as well. Yeah, and so it just gives much more flexibility for the user to use the product and come up with a solution that makes more sense to them. And we are not force fitting them into something just so that our business model works.
Absolutely. That's we've all sought the machine vision to move to a more modular design, a more open source design. There's so many good quality programs out there, and you've got a workforce who's been trained in a certain area. It's hard to make inroads, especially as a hardware supplier, if you're not working in that particular environment. Whether it's a Sherlock or a Cognex product or something else that has large market position. Do you? Are there, before we move away from that smart camera, I'd like to, I'm just kind of really excited about this. So we're able to deploy AI deep learning models to the edge. And I loved your point earlier that people think of AI in terms of LLMs. They don't really understand that AI, when it comes to machine vision, is this new advanced pattern matching capability that has fungibility, has the ability to infer in gray areas and still be extremely accurate. So I think there's a lot in the general marketplace. There's not a real clear understanding about how AI is being applied to imaging solutions. But back to your open source camera, is there, you have a certain set of GPUs that you differentiate different models, or is there anything else you want to tell us about IO that helps to make it, again, a tool for many different types of applications?
So you have a lot of flexibility in terms of applications. Combinations with specific GPUs. I wouldn't really say that, but you have many different applications. Certainly more in that case, more on the factory automation environment. But you can think of many other applications as well. And then robotics, of course, as you mentioned earlier, is certainly a big field of use moving forward.
Right.
We are working with several large name customers, and it's kind of interesting how they start to use it for purposes that we haven't even thought about.
It'll take a couple of years.
Kind of a learning process.
Right now, I'll only hear about those applications sitting at the bar at a conference because no one can. Everybody's under NDA. Not that Robert will share or be at the bar. Just want to clarify that for the out there. But anyway, so we're getting close to the end here. 26 has already kicked off to be an interesting year globally. But from the machine vision market, what makes you most excited over the next year or two?
I think what I mentioned earlier, I think the key thing that I see, if I look at the industry, I think the prospects are very bright if we play it right. And this is something that's really encouraging. And what I'm most excited about is, of course, where we have made that step of the consolidation under one brand. And that's a big step for us also organizationally. And I have to say, I'm really proud about what my team has been able to do in a relatively short period of time, to bring this together, that makes a lot of sense. Other than that, I mean, we mentioned AI a lot. I think that will still be the driving force in many of the developments. Some of them will be difficult to predict from now to 12, 24 months or something. But I think it's important to not see that as a threat, but as an opportunity. And I think that's a key aspect for me, for sure. And then what I'm also excited about is, as I also mentioned earlier, so our business is going really well. And this is always the basis for everything else. We are continuously improving our growth, improving our profitability, which then allows us to further invest into exciting stuff. So no, I'm very positive.
I'm feeling good about that. That makes me Q4, Q1, and we're going into Q2 here, not in the not too distant future. I think a lot of people are seeing a lot more activity than we've seen in the last couple of years. So it is exciting if we can all just keep it together and focus down on doing good things.
Yeah, what is interesting is that we saw a lot of activity also in the last 2 or 3 years on the level of design-ins, and they come now to fruition. So that this is also something that makes me very positive. And I think we gained some share there as well. But that's really positive again compared to other industries.
Fantastic. Robert, if I think, would you agree that a lot of the new customers that are coming to Allied Vision now are first timers, or what percentage versus returning customers? The reason I asked this is I was going to follow it up with a question. If you had advice for any kind of new entry into the marketplace, what would it be as someone who's been in the machine vision market for a little while?
I don't know if I should give that type of advice. No, but honestly, in our case, the level of new customers is actually increasing. We see also increasing opportunity funnels. So all these typical KPIs you look at. So we have more business with new customers than we have business with existing customers.
Right.
And so then you can calculate the ratio for yourself in a way. But it's that is really inspiring, of course. And a lot has also to do with, and then maybe that's a piece of advice, I think it's important to focus on certain segments. So the way that we are structuring our business is on a certain level, we want to serve all segments and not be specific to anyone and not to exclude anything.
Right.
But then the more it becomes specific, the more you need to make some choices. And this is what I think we have done reasonably well so far, and we will further move in that direction.
That makes sense. We've seen that for a number of years. I mean, this is a complex technology. To be able to be turnkey out of the box, to be able to solve complex solutions, you guys have to do a lot of engineering in the back end and help those customers get to where they're trying to achieve. So, Robert, I really, really appreciate you taking the time to be with us today. It's really been a pleasure. I hope I know you said you were on the road a lot, so let's hope at least you're in home for another week or two. But I'm sure our paths will cross up in Stuttgart or somewhere else this year. So. Until that time, thanks again for being with us. If anybody has any questions for Robert or about Allied Vision, you reach Robert directly at alliedvision.com. You can submit your question through whatever your favorite podcast platform where you watch Manufacturing Matters. You can see all of our past episodes at manufacturing-matters.com. And we'll be sure to get in those questions off to Robert. If you're interested in being on a future episode, don't be shy about reaching out to us too. And until the next time that our paths cross, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you soon.